Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Anoop. I'm a clinical psychologist and an assistant professor of psychology.
I'm Annuradha Rakesh, clinical psychologist and director at the Inner Quest Center for Psychological Treatment. And today we are here to talk about an interesting topic, which is
It's a wonderful topic that everyone thinks about how to improve your sex life. आपके sex life को कैसे बेहतर बनाया जा सकता है. It's a very sad thing that a lot of people think about sex as a completely biological act. But the truth is that it's a voluntary, mutual, caring, sharing, pleasurable activity. The term sex brings to our mind a lot of beautiful things about relationship, a lot of beautiful things about togetherness. So today we are here to discuss about how can you improve your sex life. When you talk about improving your sex life, there are three important things that should ring in your mind. Number one is busting the myths regarding sexuality. Number two is what are the aspects which are called sexual dysfunction. And number three is how to invigorate or enrich your sex life. So talking about the myths about sexuality, I hand over the baton to Dr. Annuradha.
now, most often we have seen that people believe only the beautiful people can have great sex. That means the people who are not beautiful are not going to have enough and good sex. People who are old and sick cannot have sex. People with disability cannot ask for sex. So that means it's only meant for certain type or category of people. Obviously, as we all know, it's not true. These are the things that we have tend to believe that is going to happen in a particular manner. But sex or having a good sex life is actually a right of an individual, whichever category that person that belongs to.
One of the myths about having a beautiful body is having a big penis, unfortunately. If you look at the old paintings of Ajanta, Ellora and the old kind of Indian paintings, you will find that there is an obsession towards having a big breast and having a big penis. The truth is that the penis size that the scientific journals suggest, it need not be more than 7 centimeters to have satisfied sexual relationship. But unfortunately, because of the pornographic advent and because of exposure to wrong kind of sexual materials in the media, people harbor all kinds of fantasies and all kinds of wrong ideas about sexuality and penis size.
Now, with regard to penis size is concerned, most of the most sensuous as well as the pleasurable part of vagina is within the reach of 1 inch. So that means, however small the penis size is, it can provide a pleasure to the women. And with regard to breast size is concerned, I feel or we have seen in our clinical practice that it's largely an aspect of a body image. Whereas if it concerns with sexual satisfaction, it has hardly anything to do with it. It's more or less is about the imagination, as doctor has said that it's through the pornography or the depiction through different portrayal of on paintings as well as sculpture. We believe that it has to be bigger, but in reality or scientifically, it has nothing to do with that.
The truth is that the size of the breast and the penis has nothing to do with the pleasure you get from sexual activity. So myth one is busted on brother.
That's true.
Second one we talk about is the myth about the hymen. That is very prevalent. This is more prevalent about the ladies, and ladies can talk about this better.
Hymen, for women as well as for the men, they believe that it provides the sanctity of women as a pure person or someone who has been, never indulged in sex life. Now, hymen is just a small layer or membrane in the vagina, which can easily get nowadays, broken or busted with some sort of exercises that people do. If a girl is cycling or going to a gym and working out or swimming, many a times it can get broken, and many a times it does not lead any sort of a bleeding, which is tend to believe earlier that breaking of hymen will lead to some certain sort of bleeding, so that man knows that women is pure.
पुराने टाइम में जब आपने मूवीज में देखा होगा, अगर फर्स्ट नाइट में अगर बेड पे ब्लड ना दिखे So that is a sign that the woman's hymen has been broken earlier. All such myths needs to be dispelled right from the beginning. The third important thing is a myth regarding masturbation. Masturbation is a very normal activity. More than 60% of men and 40% of women all around the world indulge in masturbatory activities, pre-marriage as well as post-marriage. It is just an act of self-stimulation, to curiosity, because of curiosity to experiment with your own sexuality, nothing more. The only problem is that when masturbation reaches a standard when it can be called pathological, the only problem that people encounter is lack of quantity of semen, or lack of quantity of sexual vigor left to have actual sexual relationship. So that is myth number 3, masturbation. But again, one more thing, when I talk about masturbation, there is a syndrome which is a culture bound syndrome, especially found in India, Dr. Annuradha, which is called Dart syndrome. इसमें ऐसा सोचा जाता है कि ज़्यादा मास्टरबेशन करने की वजह से शरीर के जो धातु हैं, जो आयन तत्व, जो भी जो लोग समझते हैं,
जिसको मैस्कुलिनिटी से कंपेयर करते हैं,
हाँ, वो बह जाता है, इसलिए जो मर्द हैं उनकी मर्दानगी कम हो जाता है, ऐसे लोग सोचते हैं. बट दैट इज एक्चुअली अ मिथ. दिस इज नथिंग लाइक दैट. देयर इज नो धातु दैट इज एक्चुअली फ्लोइंग आउट ऑफ योर बॉडी, एंड देयर इज नथिंग दैट इज मेकिंग यू वीक. बट हैविंग सेड दैट, आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट, आई एम नॉट एनकरेजिंग दैट पीपल शुड गो अराउंड मास्टरबेटिंग. As and when it is required, if that is a requirement, then you can indulge in that. But getting addicted to anything, let it be masturbation or anything, can be, can cause mental stress and other issues to anyone. The next one is about, again, another myth related to vagina, which is regarding tightness of vagina, that a lot of young men.
As Anoop has suggested, that tightness of vagina is a common concern for most of the men. They think that if the vagina is not tight, that means that woman has indulged into a sexual activity prior to this. And whereas vagina being a musculature, a structure which is elastic in nature, depends upon how a woman is aroused or not. So if woman is aroused, obviously it will give space for penis to penetrate into it, and if it is not and the woman is anxious, obviously it contract and make the penetration more difficult, whereas it has nothing to do with the sexual activity that she has indulged before.
There's a very common saying, I'm talking about the next myth. There's a very common saying in English that men don't cry. हिंदी में भी हैं ऐसे कि मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता. Like that, men are always ready for sex. जैसे मर्द हमेशा सेक्स के लिए रेडी होता है. This is another myth that people have to remove. Men, like women or like any other organism, can get tired, can get fatigued, and they might not be able to get an erection or indulge in a sexual activity every time, anywhere, and with everyone. So this is one thing that at times you might not be interested in sex, at times you may not get erection, and that's a very common phenomenon, and that has nothing to do with your sexual capacity.
Another common misconception is everyone is having sex. Now, we believe, except me, everyone is indulging into a sexual activity almost every day. With the advent of Facebook and social media, life looks hunky-dory, and we believe that other people are more compatible than what we have. But if you look at the world average, on an average, couples indulge into sexual activity once or twice in a week. Okay, for women, twice in a week, many women consider it a lot, then men consider twice in a week less. So that's the difference between the gender difference. But we tend to believe that other people are having more sex than we are having. So it's a myth. Rather than having a more number of times a dissatisfying sex, having a better quality sex life is important.
Another thing is, like, people believe that sex is good only every time if you have an orgasm. Yes. हर बार आपको orgasm हो तभी sex अच्छा है. अब ये कैसे हो सकता है भाई? Because we are all organisms. We are not machines, we are not puppets, or we are not like programmed to have an orgasm every time. Sometimes, depending upon the mindset, depending upon the body fatigability, depending upon the desirability, depending upon the day, time, circumstances, and the nature of orgasm also changes. So it is not at all required that every time you have sex, you should have orgasm. So this is another myth busted.
Another thing that people believe, or women tend to believe, that it's men's responsibility to provide orgasm to them. How is that possible? Now, sex is an act where two people are involved. Until unless two people are equal partner in providing pleasure to each other, how is a one person can take responsibility to make other person much more satisfied? It is men's responsibility to provide orgasm to women. How is that possible? Sex is an act where two people are involved, equally involved, to feel or get pleasure or provide pleasure. So it cannot be men's responsibility, or we should give this onus on men's shoulder that they should satisfy a woman. If you want to feel or get orgasm every time that you indulge in a sexual activity, you have to be an equal partner into it. You have to do something to make make your partner realize what makes you feel good about it. So it's not men's responsibility to give you orgasm, but it's a mutual responsibility that one has to take to make this whole act pleasurable for each other.
Now, after finishing the first part, that is myth busting part, we move on to the next part, that is talking about certain sexual dysfunctions which might require clinical evaluation and some kind of a treatment strategy, including psychological treatment. So maybe Dr. Annuradha, as an expert, would be able to shed more light on that particular thing.
There are three common sexual dysfunctions that we encounter in our day-to-day clinical setting. One is premature ejaculation, second one is erectile dysfunction, third one is vaginismus. Premature ejaculation is a man enter into women vagina and within less than a minute he ejaculates and come out. So a normal span for a particular intercourse is approximately around 4 minutes to 6 minutes. So if a man ejaculates before 1 minute, that person seems to have erectile dysfunction. Second one is premature ejaculation. Premature ejaculation is the man is not able to get a proper erection in spite of providing enough and more stimulation to the penis. So either the person doesn't get erection at all, or if they get it for a very brief period of time, they find it difficult to sustain it. That largely has been seen is because of certain performance anxiety during the intercourse, that people have erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation. There are very specific techniques to treat these two disorders. Third one is vaginismus, which is basically a women sexual dysfunction where the women feel a severe pain or contraction in the vagina which doesn't allow them to have a good penetration into their vagina. They find the whole process extremely painful. That also has been seen that women being very anxious about the whole sexual act basically constrain their body and find it very difficult to ease out. Which for that also there are certain specific techniques which help women to deal with it. Certain relaxation strategies and many other sex therapy techniques are there which help these three conditions to deal with it and providing the couple a good sex life.
Now with this, we move on to the third and the most important part of this conversation, which is how to make your sex life more enriched, or how to invigorate your sex life. This is one big problem with the modern couples. Number one is they don't have time to spend with each other. The romance in relationship dies after marriage. Very sadly, that is the truth. Spending time with each other, spending time caring for each other. There are very small things like, remembering the birthday, remembering the wedding anniversaries, some small surprise gift, going for a movie together, going out for a picnic. All these things are lost after a marriage or after formality creeps into the relationship. So before marriage and after marriage are like two phases of life, as you know. So invigoration involves spending time with each other to start with. Second one is like spontaneity in sexuality. A lot of people feel that every time you think about having sex, you should be able to have sex. It's not like that. There's a bit of planning also involved in sexuality. What do you think about that, Dr. Annuradha?
People think, planning in sex is a big deterrent. How can you plan a sex life or, a sex act? But whereas I believe
True.
and I actually recommend many of my clients that, in a day to day busy schedule that we have, expecting that, you come back home at 9:30 or 11 and you expect your partner to, indulge in an activity with you will be exciting. Might not be. As you remember the time, before your marriage, you used to plan your date night, your romantic dinner. So, there is certain thing that you do to indulge into an act which makes it beautiful. So why not post marriage, when you feel that, this is something that you haven't done for a while, or you should do, or indulge in these activity once or twice in a week, plan it. Make time for it, make space for it, make your room ready, make yourself ready for that particular act. Take the less burden of work on those days possible, so that, you can spend time with each other. So as he said that, doing a small bit of thing, these plannings, these small plannings are basically those small things which one need to do to make this sex life beautiful.
The third important aspect is, as I told you, romanticizing or retaining the love in sex. Now, what is love? Love involves three important concepts. One is like affection, and one is like commitment, and one is passion. Anything less, it's not love. So at this point in time, I would like to equate sex with love. When there is love, there is caring, there is touching, and there is a lot of foreplay involved in sex, which is missing from the modern lives. People are so busy, people just want to go to bed and have this sex, and they want to enjoy, have an orgasm, which is impossible. If you really want to have an orgasm, if you really want to have good sex, you should love each other. There should be affection. So bring back that affection into your married life. Not talking about people, when they talk about sex, they talk about intercourse. The entry of the penis into the vagina and ejaculation or orgasm is considered as the mark of sex, which is exactly not. Even if the entry of the penis entry doesn't happen, even if the intercourse as such doesn't happen, still sex can happen.
Many a times, like we talked about orgasm a bit earlier, many a times people believe that orgasm can happen through vaginal intercourse only. But if you see, or if you have experienced it, many a times you can experience orgasm with just by kissing, just by cuddling, just by through the whole process of foreplay.
Yes.
So we have to figure those things out. What excites you or your partner, and actually enter into a clear communication where you can actually tell other person what I like or not like.
It's actually knowing each other's body and soul.
Yeah.
That makes better sexual experiences.
Very true.
So anyway, so it was a nice opportunity for us also to interact with you regarding sexuality and other things. We can meet, or we can actually talk to each other and then explore about, your problems if you have any, and try to resolve it anytime. So nice talking to you. Goodbye.
Thank you.